Okay, so I think we'll make a start. Um, uh, so we're welcoming today people from across the university, and some of you may know me, others may not. So I'll just introduce myself first. My name's Greta Friggens. I'm the faculty librarian for creative and cultural industries here at the University of Portsmouth. So welcome everyone to this short lunchtime webinar, introducing you to the prestigious Outside In World collection, which is situated here in your university library. If you have any questions, please either put them in the chat or add them to the Q&A feature in Zoom. And one of my colleagues may pick up on them throughout the presentation, or if not, we'll come and answer them at the end. So today then I'll be introducing the Outside In World organisation and collection and sharing a little of the background as to why we have it here at the university. Then I will showcase some of the beautiful publications that can be found within the collection and focusing on the theme of South Asian Heritage Month. Finally, I will share some of the amazing things that Outside In World and the University of Portsmouth has achieved with the collection. And really, the aim of today is to encourage you to consider how you might wish to use it in future. So the organisation is dedicated to promoting and exploring world literature and children's books in translation. It was established by three colleagues working with children's literature at an organisation called Book Trust. They were Deborah Hallford, Alexandra Strick, and Edgardo Zaghini. When Deborah left in 2005, she became self-employed and was awarded an Arts Council grant to put together a publication called Outside In Children's Books in Translation, which was published by Millet and was co-edited with Ed Zaghini. The book collecting began in 2004 as Deborah worked on this publication. And in 2007, Alex and Deborah formally established Outside In World. To cut a long story short, publishers continued to send them new books, and the collection outgrew Deborah and Alex's living rooms. Can you believe it? They kept them there. And so in 2019, they began looking for a library to house the growing collection of over 1,600 volumes. They were really keen that others should access the books for research, teaching, and pleasure. Sorry, these slides have got a mind of their own. As well as books from 2004 to the present, there is a small collection of books from the 1970s and 80s, which were donated to Outside In World by Roehampton University. In 2021, the physical collection was donated to the University of Portsmouth Library following the dedication of Dr. Karen Ann Knight, Senior Lecturer in Illustration, who worked with myself and the University Librarian to demonstrate that the collection could have an active and meaningful life here at the university. The trustees of Outside In World were particularly impressed by the potential impact of the collection on Portsmouth's diverse community, as well as its appeal for research and teaching. Now, the best way to get to know the organisation is to visit Outside In World's website. The website is zoned with users in mind. Now, the education zone, where librarians and educators can read the latest book reviews, access resources, and find statistical information about OIW. But one thing that it's quite important to note, really, is that we can also find out about the latest webinars, which are produced in partnership with the Centre for Book Cultures and Publishing at the University of Reading. Now, the centre undertakes research with a distinctive global, multilingual and multidisciplinary focus. You will see a link to their YouTube channel where you can catch up with past events if you'd like to. Now, there are also zones for young people and parents which offer ideas of how to use and explore the collections. Now, an interesting page for both children and those with an interest in illustration is the online illustration gallery. Now, I dipped in and chose the door to India, and here you will see the gallery of images from books that have been published in India. So you can scroll through the images, choose any that look interesting, and see the details of the books that they are taken from. This one's from a book called Monkey Photo. To make effective use of the collection, I regularly visit the Browse Books area. You can search for a book or browse by country, continent, or age range. I chose to look for books relating to Asia, aimed at 6 to 8-year-olds, for example. Each page tells you about the book. It gives you information about the author, translator, and illustrator, its country of origin and language, as well as a summary of the content. It's nice and visual. Really like to actually dip in and explore. If I want to find out if we have the book at the University of Portsmouth, I then have to search the University of Portsmouth Library Catalogue so I know precisely where to find it. Here you can see the shelf mark, and anything preceded with outside in world can be found on the ground floor near our cafe. So that's the collection we're inviting you to see. Remember that you can reserve items and click and collect them if you're in a hurry as well. So I did my homework for this presentation and discovered that most of the countries within South Asia were underrepresented, sadly. However, we do have books written and published in India, a selection of which I will show you. I've chosen them with my illustration students in mind. That's the perspective I'm approaching it from. I've lifted some comments from the book reviews available on the Outside In World website. And by the way, please do excuse my pronunciation in the upcoming slides. So, Alone in the Forest is a sensitive exploration of the psychology of fear, showing how Musa is able to overcome his anxiety and realize that there is nothing to be frightened of after all. Illustrated by the well-known Gond tribal artist Baju Shyam from the village of Patangath, central India, the paintings are closely associated with the Gond art of his home region. The Gonds were a community who are traditionally forest dwellers, and their art derives from the decorative patterns painted on the mud floors and walls of their houses. Five-tongued, fire-fanged, polka-dotted dragon snake. Thought I better read that out. Anushka Ravishankar uses long words and plays on vocabulary, polka-dotted being an especially amusing pun, and is not afraid to use elements of suspense that add some complexity to her story, as well as having a lot of fun. Ravishankar's story is also a touching tale of making friends and vivid imaginations, and is ably abetted by Indra Pramit Roy's pen and ink monochrome illustrations that really capture the way children act and also add an interesting twist. Anything but a can't say that one, Grabu Berry, Anything But a Grabu Berry is a wacky book which aims to combine nonsense verse with bold typographical tricks. Using two colours, red and green, the type forms images which suggest the words it is depicting. Great for my graphic design students. 8 Ways to Draw a Fish, that's the one we looked up earlier, is an art activity book that introduces children to a variety of Indian art traditions, including Meena, Gond, Madhubani, Patua, and Beel. Through tracing patterning and colouring the fish, children can immerse themselves in the detailed exploration of 8 different folk and tribal art styles. This unusual graphic biography tells the story of Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar, who was one of India's foremost revolutionaries. Pardon God artists Durgabai VM and Subhash VM very successfully interweave historical events with contemporary incidents, making this a visually evocative, large format graphic design book that is full of heavy symbolism and motifs. The rich colour of the Gond art, with the speech bubbles clearly woven into the images, make this an unusual biography. The Mahabharata is one of the major Sanskrit epics of ancient India and is the longest known epic poem. It is a compelling chronicle about the Kaurava and Pandava princes, about ambition and destruction and gods and humans. The Mahabharata is an easy read and is ideal for introducing to a younger audience, as well as being a perfect way to approach the epic and some of its more complex themes. Together with the charming childlike drawings by the author, it offers a fresh and accessible perspective on this timeless myth. So Trash evolved from a series of workshops with rag picker children. In order to create an understanding of the lives of working children, real life experiences are incorporated into the story. It is further enriched by the witty and imaginative illustrations of Arijit Sen with the startling colour artwork and use of intriguing photo collage techniques. Do, this is one of my favourites. It was a winner of the 2010 Ragazzi Award at the Bologna Children's Book Fair. Do is no ordinary picture book. It is unique in its mixture of action pictures, almost fluid-like pictographs, all drawn in the traditional style of art from the Wali tribal community of painters in Maharashtra, Western India. The intriguingly simple yet detailed illustrations, all hand printed, make every page a treat to pore over. And it's definitely one of the titles that's been used by our master students in inspiring their own work and creativity, as has this very hungry lion. This is an adaptation of an ancient East Indian folk tale about laziness and greed by Gita Wolf. The text in different colours, sometimes red and sometimes blue, is ideal for storytelling, but it is the vibrant and humorous art that is so special about this book. Rendered in the Wali style of folk painting from Western India, so that's painted with white chalk on mud walls of tribal houses. The 6 colour images are silk screened by hand onto paper made from rice husks and recycled fibres. So I hope that's made you want to come in and find out what other gems we have in this collection. This is just a very small selection of those 1,600 books. So now let's move on to thinking about showcasing some of our work with the collection. Now, the Saturday Reading Project was perhaps our most ambitious. Students from the illustration department and some other student volunteers worked with a representative from Portsmouth City of Sanctuary to read to or with children and young people from the refugee community. Around 10 families were involved with the project over 4 weeks. And here you can see some of us participants. The children enjoyed choosing books from the collection, reading to the volunteers or with them, and sometimes drawing images inspired by what they had read. Older children from the families were mentored to read to the younger children as well. Parents or guardians were granted external membership of the university library on the day, which is free to anyone anyway. As well as interacting with the books in the Outside In World collection, they were offered a tour of the whole library, and the enthusiasm and delight of what was open to them as a member of the community was quite overwhelming. I was utterly, I felt quite emotional having had the opportunity to give those families a tour. I really do think it's made a difference to their life in Portsmouth. The project had a press release, and Dr. Knight and I were interviewed for the local TV and radio news. That's our 30 seconds of fame, but we were well supported by our marketing and communications team. I'll just pause a moment, let you read some of the comments here. Another joyful thing really was that it was lovely to observe that the families continued to come and use the facilities within the university library. So we've seen some parents or guardians and their children who regularly do continue to visit us. Another event, a local schools diversity day, saw some of the illustration students from the reading project, myself and another member of library staff, reading to groups of children who were researching their chosen countries for Diversity Day back in 2023. As an academic librarian, well, I hadn't ever imagined I'd be reading to children, and the thought was quite terrifying. I don't have any children myself. However, the experience was fantastic, and the children were so responsive and creative in their questions and drawings. And I would definitely encourage anybody to participate if there's an opportunity in future. So Sue and Megan, 2 of the students who greatly enjoyed the opportunity with these projects, have left us with some comments on our library blog. They want to become children's book illustrators themselves, so it was a great experience. They love the energy from the children, and they really kind of need to understand what children like about the books that they're going to illustrate for. So it was a good opportunity for them too. So when you come in to visit the collection, you will see that some of our fragile books are held in a glass cupboard alongside some models made by textile design students from Havant and South Downs College. Now, Becky, one of my library colleagues, sent some books on the theme of sustainability to the college, and the students produced the models and shared them with us to display alongside the books in the library. They proudly came to visit the work and also visited the fashion department at the same time, which is all great for recruitment. Maybe some of them are students and they can still see their work here when they join us. So members of the library team continue to promote the collection through UOP global events. My colleague David has encouraged students like Santosh and Abigail to get involved with story times in the library. And I have introduced the collection to local and national librarians through various networks. The collection was a really useful visual starting point to get librarians thinking about how local communities could benefit from access to their own special collections. But what was particularly sad is that many libraries don't have options for members of the local community to access their buildings, let alone their collections. So we are truly lucky here at the university to be able to work with our local community. It really is a privilege. So the collection is used to support learning and teaching and is greatly enjoyed by the illustration students with whom I work. Translation students have worked with colleagues at the University of Reading to utilise it for quite different purposes. And there are opportunities for those studying creative writing, literature, education and graphic design too. Outside In World is keen to encourage researchers to use the collection and could help foster relationships with the Centre for Book Cultures and Publishing at the University of Reading. So if you are keen and want to know more about that, then please do come and talk to us. So what's next for us then? Well, we're hoping to contribute to next year's Portsmouth Book Fest. That will be a really popular event. But before that, we would like you to help us promote the collection, and in particular, 2 drop-ins that we are planning for the summer. So they'll be taking place on Wednesday, the 31st of July and on Friday, the 9th of August. We really want to encourage you to come and visit the collection and talk to us about how we can facilitate access to it for it to be used to support teaching, research, and even community events. On acquiring the collection, Dr. Knight envisaged that it would take on a life of its own, a life that the OIW trustees are keen to foster and support in whatever ways they can. So do look out for social media and posters advertising these events, which will be open to members of the community and children too. Santosh, our student volunteer, will be reading to the children, and there will be drawing and colouring activities too. But there will also be opportunities for you to discuss your own experiences with learning, teaching and research. So thank you for listening to this very short introduction, and special thanks to Emily Smith, Chair of the Multicultural Staff Network, for promoting this webinar and extending the invitation to the Parents and Carers Network and UOP Global, and for suggesting the South Asian Heritage Month theme to help us focus on our search. Thanks also to library colleagues, my colleagues in particular, David, Patrick and Becky, for their contributions. And thank you for your interest too. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and we'll come to any questions that you might have. Okay. Pablo. Yeah, so Pablo, our penguin, which was accompanying the children from the Saturday Reading Project. When we gave the children and families a tour of the university library, they spotted our library mascot sat in a staff office and were really keen that Pablo came out to read with them as well. So it was nice to see him making an appearance. So Denise asks, is the collection still growing? Indeed it is, Denise. We have a commitment from Outside In World to transfer their books to us each year. So we're expecting a new batch anytime soon. We have a little bit of space for some new titles. We're also developing collections of language titles as well, so it will grow within that area as well. So Emily's looking forward to coming to have a look at the books themselves. I should say that although we've scheduled those drop-ins, people are welcome to come along at any time. You can sign yourself into the university library, or if you're not a member of the community. We just ask that you bring some ID if you're outside of the university. Timothy says, how many languages do you have represented? I should have prepped for that one. You'll have to go onto the Outside In World website. The books have been translated into English. They are from all over the world. I'm trying to think of, no, I'm not even going to hazard a guess. I'm going to look that one up for you. So Jenny's asking, do we take donations for Outside In World collection? We do, Jenny. We either add them to Outside In World, or we can add them to the smaller section which we have, which is currently called Near and Far World Books. So either of those collections are in the cafe area and will benefit the local community. And Capella says, can you send the slide so we can look at the book titles, please? Absolutely. I tell you what, I've got it on Google Drive, so maybe I could put a little link to that in the chat. You've also got some funky video clips in there at the start of that, because I wasn't able to play it through my Zoom, but that should work now. Thanks for checking, Timothy. Okay, so Denise says, I should know this, but what is the difference between Outside In World and Near and Far collections, please? That's a really good question, because when we had the collection, first of all, it was associated with the research of Dr. Karen Ann Knight, and she envisaged that the Near and Far World Books of Portsmouth collection would be a much bigger collection and a growing collection, which would fit with a research school. Now, since that has happened, Dr. Karen Ann Knight has retired, and resources are such at the moment that we are not able to develop that collection fully. So we've decided that we would just call it Outside In World. So the Outside In World are the children books in translation, and Near and Far is a little collection of some children's books which are not in the English language. So that's the difference with the collections. I think that's all from the chat. If anybody would like to unmute themselves and ask a question, you're very welcome to. Or otherwise, that's all from me. And thank you very much for listening. And do come along to the drop-ins. I think David has just launched the Eventbrite links for the drop-ins this morning, so we can check those out. And if you're interested, we can send those as well. Thank you, Denise.
Thank you, Greta. Well done.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay, then. Thanks very much, everybody. Lovely to see you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.